We have found Iman al-Obeidi, and tonight she risked her life to speak out. You remember the Libyan woman arrested and dragged off after telling reporters she'd been raped by Gaddafi forces. Tonight she defies Gaddafi officials who she says have continued to harass her and threaten her. She is defying them by talking to us. She says she's in hiding in Tripoli and has been told not to talk about the brutality she says she suffered and the brutality she says she continues to suffer. She's fearful for her life tonight, but says she has nothing left to lose. This, of course, is how the world first came to know her after she snuck into a Tripoli hotel full of journalists a little bit more than a week ago, screaming she'd been raped by Gaddafi's forces, gang raped by 15 men, bound and tormented, held captive. She had scars and bruises to prove her story. As she spoke, hotel workers revealed themselves to be government agents, assaulted her. They assaulted her verbally. One pointed a knife at her. Then one of them threw a coat over her head, and eventually she was hustled away. A few days later, Libyan state TV ran a tape of a woman being interrogated. It was Iman, it turns out, lying on a floor. Voices of people taunting her could be heard, telling her to do interviews on Libyan state TV, withdrawing her story. She refuses all of it. The government said that she was drunk. They said she was mentally unstable. They even called her a prostitute. The Libyan state TV anchor says right here, comparing her to a prostitute was insulting to prostitutes because, and I'm quoting here, even a whore feels patriotic about Libya. Well, tonight we know that Iman al-Obeidi is still in danger, still in Tripoli. She says she was with her sister, but they were being harassed, and she's moved to another location so her sister isn't attacked. She says she's been rearrested several times. She's tried to flee for Tunisia, tried to get to the hotel where journalists are staying, but says she has been repeatedly stopped by Gaddafi's men on the street. I talked to her earlier tonight. When you first went into the hotel to talk to the journalists, how did you get into the hotel?
I arrived in a taxi that took me from the place of the incident. When I was stopped by the security, I lied and said that I worked at the hotel because the government does not allow any communications between Libyans and journalists.
You knew you were taking a great risk. Why was it so important for you to go into the hotel to try to talk to reporters?
After all I went through, there is nothing else that constitutes a danger to my life. Our life was destroyed, and our dignity tarnished. Our humanity has been taken from us. There is nothing else that has not been taken from us. We are even careful to the air we inhale and exhale in order to regain our freedom.
When you were in the hotel, you said, "Look what the Gaddafi brigades have done to me." What was done to you?
They abducted me. Prior, I showed to the journalists my hands and legs. I was bound and tied up. I was beaten and tortured. For 2 days, they violated my freedom without eating or drinking. I have further details to provide you with later on. I want to convey to the journalists that the brigades who are supposed to be protecting people, look what they did to me.
How were you originally taken by Gaddafi forces? Where and how?
I was in Tripoli, in a region called Ain Azhara. I was in a taxi when I left a friend's house and headed home when I was stopped.
What were those days like for you?
My feelings were that they had taken my humanity, that I would never leave this place. They told me I would never see the light of day again, that I would never be released or return home, and that they will kill me.
How did you survive? How were you able to survive those days?
Of course, they had my hands tied behind me, and they had my legs tied, and they would hit me while I was tied and bite me on my body, and they would pour alcohol in my eyes so that I would not be able to see, and they would sodomize me with their Kalashnikovs. And they would not let me go to the bathroom. I was not allowed to eat or drink. This is because I resisted them and tried to stop them from raping me. But the other girl, she gave up completely and did not try to fight them. And she was the one who was able to untie my hands and feet while they were sleeping. they were at all the checkpoints, and they would be drunk, and they would abuse all of the Libyans.
They raped you with a gun?
Of course, they are all armed. They have Kalashnikovs. When they were raping me, one man would leave and another would enter. And he would finish, and then another man would come in. Of course, they would untie my hands when they would rape me. And one of them, while my hands were still tied, before he raped me, he sodomized me with his Kalashnikov.
Would they say anything to you? Were they saying to you, did they want something from you?
They would say, let the men from eastern Libya come and see what we are doing to their women, and how we treat them, how we rape them.
How were you able to escape?
Among the kidnapped women, there was one girl who was no more than 16, and she untied me. They did not bind her because she gave up out of fear and did not try to resist them or try to fight them and hit them. At about 7 a.m., early in the morning, I was crying, and she came to cover me, and I begged her to untie me. She was so scared, but she untied my hands and feet, and she refused to escape out of fear of them. She gave me her name and address and asked me to report everything to the police.
When you were in the hotel room trying to talk to the journalists and Libyan government thugs were attacking you, trying to silence you, what was going through your mind?
I was not thinking anything when I came to the hotel. I heard about the existence of the fact-finding organization. I came here because I knew that the Libyan authorities won't respect my rights or talk about this issue and could have been jailed, and nobody would have heard my story. I was just looking for my rights to be returned. I came even though I knew that the Libyan government would not leave me alone and would try to silence me. I knew that they could imprison me and that no one may ever know my story. And even when they were hitting me and trying to cover my face so that I would not tell people the truth, I was not afraid. I've reached the end of my tolerance for this as a human.
They finally, a woman in the hotel put a coat over you. A waiter there, a waitress, called you a traitor. Did you realize there would be so many government officials there who would try to stop you?
Everyone that is in the hotel that appears to be waiters or members of the staff, they are secret police. And I knew this. I know they were all members of the Secret Service and internal security forces and the Revolutionary Guard, and I know all of this. And I know I could even die, but there's something we are trying to tell the world. Gaddafi says that all the people here support him, and that he is originally from the East, and his roots are in the East, meaning there is no opposition to him at all. The people here live in hell, in detention, and a 24-hour state of terror. The same terror that happened to me in the hotel, so that I would not speak.
They put you in a car and drove off. That was the last time we saw you. What happened to you then?
Before they took me to prison, they bought me new clothes and said he would take me to Libyan state TV station so I could retract my statements and say that those who kidnapped me were actually the revolutionaries. And when I refused, they took me to jail for the arrest.
We saw a video on Libyan state television of a woman lying on a floor being asked questions, and was that you?
Behind the camera, there was more than 15 Kalashnikovs, and they were threatening me. But I refused to go on Libya TV because the TV station has no credibility, and I am fearing the consequences.
How were you treated?
They cursed at me and told me I was a traitor because I said the truth. And on Libyan TV, they said I was a traitor because I refused to be silent about what happened to me.
The government spokesman, Musa Ibrahim, he said he called you many things. He said you appeared drunk, that you were mentally unstable, that you were a prostitute. When you hear all that,
the Libyan government, when someone protests, They say he is taking hallucinogenic pills. And when someone demands their rights, they say he is mentally retarded. They accuse me of being mentally retarded and an alcohol addict. In Libya, the government has no rationale to what is happening in the country, other than accusations.
Musa Ibrahim first said you were with your family. Then later he claimed he didn't know where you were. And then he said maybe you were in a shelter for women. Can you say where you are now? Are you safe? Where are you?
There's no safe place for me in Tripoli. All my phones are monitored. Even this phone I'm speaking on right now is monitored, and I am monitored. And yesterday I was kidnapped by a car and they beat me in the street and then brought me here after they dragged me around. They told me whenever you leave the house, we will do this to you, meaning that I was not allowed to leave the house or see the journalists. I had asked to see the journalists. They beat me and hit me and sent me back. Please tell all the human rights organizations to return me safely to my family.
Were you worried that when word got out of what happened to you, that your family would be upset? Because, as you know, there have been demonstrations in Benghazi and other cities supporting you, and your family is standing by you. We've talked to your mother, and she's proud of you and is standing by you. Did you worry that would not happen?
No. I know the way my family thinks. They are not backwards. My sister had the opportunity to study abroad without a male chaperone. They supported her. They raised us well.
We saw the videos of the engagement and wedding ceremony for you in your parents' hometown. When you saw that, what did you think?
Certainly, this is a Muslim conservative society, and one has no mercy on a woman who has been raped, and especially one who brings it out in the public. I was happy with these morals. He proposed to me after all of these events and after showing me on Libyan television.
Did you know any of the 15 men who hurt you? Because now the government is saying that they are going to sue you for slander. Did you know who they were? Can you identify them?
Yes. I
got to know one of them. I found out the place where they took me to. The neighbors of the place. This guy owns the place. The neighbors came with me to the police to testify with me. Everything that the Libyan government says about my court case is a lie. They don't care about my case, and they don't care about arresting them. Even though they know the place where the girls are being held. Even though the neighbors testified, they haven't arrested him. He's still in Tripoli.
Why do you continue to speak out? You must be very, very scared.
Why be scared? So I don't die? Dying is more of an honor than having been denied my freedom, my family, and my dignity. I have a right to defend myself. I'm not scared of him. I would like to direct a word to all the people watching us in America that we are peaceful people, and we are not members of Al-Qaeda. We are peaceful people and moderate Muslims, not extremists, and we're not asking for anything except for our freedom and dignity and the most basic human rights which are denied.
What do you think will happen to you?
I do not know. I leave everything in the hands of Allah.
Do you want to get out of Tripoli now?
Yes, I want to leave Tripoli. In the middle of the night, I get nightmares, and I feel threats 24 hours a day. They are constantly threatening me with death.
Do you worry somebody may kill you?
I don't know. My emotions change. Sometimes I feel, no, they're going to kill me. But at the same time, I feel afraid. But I have a motivation that says there is nothing to be afraid of. We have lost everything. What is left to be afraid of? It is done.
Thank you for your strength. Please be careful. Please try to stay safe.